Welcome to the Pro Farmer Podcast, your source for what's impacting prices today and your guide to what will impact markets in the weeks ahead. More substance, less fuss. The Pro Farmer Podcast starts now.
Welcome to the Pro Farmer Podcast, everybody. Your pal Davis Michelson here. It is Tuesday, May 27, 2025. Glad that you're all with us. While I've got you, please just take a second. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We post a weekly podcast here looking back at last week's market action and looking ahead to the week that's up and coming. And here to help us get started, Lane Acree from Pro Farmer. Good to see you, buddy. How you doing? How's everything? Good weekend?
Pretty good. Yeah, good long weekend.
Glad to hear that. Glad to hear it. Now let's go back to last week. And I don't know, maybe some of this was trade in anticipation of the holiday. It just seemed like the markets were a little nutty on Friday. I've got the winter wheat contracts were down, but the spring wheat was up 6 1/4. So in the July, a pretty decent move there. Meanwhile, corn is down across the board. Beans are down. Cotton poked a little bit higher. Of course, cattle apparently only can go higher. They closed higher again on Friday. And then we had some pressure on the lean hogs. Tell me the tale of last week's markets. What stuck out to you? What'd you see?
Yeah, Friday in the overnight trade, we saw a little bit of profit taking pretty much across the board. And, after a strong week of gains, it's not uncommon to see some of that profit taking take place. Once Trump ended up talking about tariffs on the European Union and tariffs on some of Apple's products, and that sent markets reeling pretty quickly, and especially corn and beans. Beans really were the ones that are hardest hit with any tariffs on the EU and any retaliation there. So not surprising to see beans trading lower, but yeah, wheat showed some pretty strong resilience.
Mm-hmm.
It was, we don't export a lot of wheat to the EU. They're pretty self-sufficient in that regard. So seeing wheat hold its own in the face of the selling and corn and beans is really good to see. And yeah, cattle, man, the cash market just continues to prove robust. We saw that with last Friday's cattle on feed report. Placements came in a little bit lower than expectations. So really fueling the bull there. And we saw some strong cash trade late in the week. Probably going to see another record cash price.
I feel like we've got to be careful not to get complacent with this cattle market. We joke around, it can only go higher. Well, that's not the case at all, is it? At some point, some of that money is going to peel out of there, and she could head lower in a hurry. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, traders are just waiting for it. I mean, we already see pretty big discounts built throughout the cattle complex, and traders are just waiting for it. And once they get confirmation that a top is in, maybe a lower week of cash trade, or it'll come down pretty quick. So pretty active management is needed on that front. But it's tough to want to do anything with such big discounts that futures are holding to the cash market right now. It's hard to want to pull the trigger on any type of hedges.
Well, and it's completely unfair of me to ask you to read people's minds, but do you have any sense of what they're looking for as a clue? Hey, it's over. It's time to get out. What might that look like?
I would look for a week of sharply lower cash trade. I mean, we've seen grinding higher a couple bucks every week. So even if the cash market stalls out a little bit, these markets, they don't consolidate sideways. They consolidate downward. So if we see lower cash trade, that would be a good sign to see that maybe this bull run could be coming to at least a contraction or a correction maybe.
That was a nugget right there. They consolidate to the downside. That's really interesting. All right, moving on. Let's talk about this week. A shortened week. We got 4 trading days this week. Lane, what are you going to be looking out for this week? What are your expectations?
We'll be looking at the inspections numbers later today. Inspections numbers for beans, they dipped a bit last week. And if that proves to be the case, if we have inspections in the single-digit millions for soybeans, that would not be a very good sign. We're looking at inspections to stay relatively strong through the rest of the marketing year. And that's been export demand on soybeans has just been really robust, and corn as well. But beans are in a little bit more of a precarious spot than corn is right now. So we're looking for that inspections number later today, the export sales report later this week. And of course, any kind of trade headlines that tend to pop up, they'll be highly scrutinized. But the market seems to become a little bit immune to those headlines, especially last Friday. that Trump report, stocks went down sharply lower. They ended up finishing today pretty strong. So
Yeah.
getting a little bit immune to it.
Absolutely. Just take a second outside of your window there in your immediate area. Late last week, I started hearing farmers complaining about GDUs. They want some heat. They need some growing degree units, GDUs. Are you getting any GDUs up there at all? What's your take?
Well, while the temperatures haven't been really that high recently, it feels warm out, and the soil temperature is able to warm up with the sunlight that we have had. We haven't had the wind that we had earlier this month, and that's been able to help warm the ground up, even if ambient temperatures aren't all that hot. But we should be getting some warm in the forecast back towards the end of this week. We'll get rid of some of this cool weather that we've had.
Yeah. Well, and the fear is that once you turn on the heat, maybe it's hard to turn off. We'll just have to wait and see. Lane Acree, thanks for working through these markets with us and for looking ahead to next week. Stick around through these messages. I'm going to have a conversation with Brian Grady about a whole bunch of stuff. Hey everyone, Davis Michelson here, and if you're one of the listeners without access to ProFarmer's daily market reports and policy insights, this message is for you. Right now, you can start a free trial to ProFarmer, unlocking the same profit-boosting information that farmers have trusted for over 50 years. Sign up online at tryprofarmer.com. No credit card needed. Visit tryprofarmer.com to sign up and get more details and updates on the topics we're discussing today, plus much, much more. And we're back. Thanks for joining us on the Pro Farmer podcast. Brian Grady, now the editor of Pro Farmer, joins me. Lots to talk about here, Brian. I'm going to ease us into it a little bit. Give us your thoughts on that cattle on feed report that we had on Friday. Anything there at all?
Fully neutral. The feedlot inventory as of May 1 down 1.5%, right in line with expectations. The placements just didn't quite decline as much as anticipated. The marketing's the same situation, but they offset each other, and really no market impact, especially after the long holiday weekend. And so, by the time traders get to it here, just going to be pretty much a nothing, I think, as expected would be the best way to describe it.
The official start to unofficial grilling season last weekend. Beef demand has been surprisingly good despite some higher prices. Is your expectation that through the summer grilling season we'll see an increase, or is it enough for beef to just hold on to the demand that it's got right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it just wants to hold on because what we're seeing is rising wholesale prices. And so that's going to be passed down from the retailer to the consumer. And so the concern is that the consumer backs off and moves to pork or chicken or whatever the case may be. So I think, we're into this critical demand period for beef. Memorial Day to 4th of July is the key period. And so just for beef to hold on amid the high prices, I think would be really a key and critical happening, so to speak.
All right. Well, you mentioned the cattle on feed was generally neutral from Friday. There was a report that came out last week that people were not neutral about that. I'm talking about the MAHA report. Farm groups, I read from the ASA, the American Soybean Association, the corn growers, all sorts of ag groups had something to say about it. Let me just give you a blank check here, Brian. What is Pro Farmer? What does Brian Grady have to say about this MAHA report that we've got?
Well, MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, it is no joking matter. Let's be honest with it. It has a lot of potential implications. Now, the commission's report, they have 180 days to get this finalized. And so by mid-August, end of August, we'll be finding out more in terms of what they anticipate doing. But, ultra processed foods, they took a hit in the report, and so a move toward more whole grains, fruits, vegetables, that type of stuff within diets. The new dietary guidelines are going to be coming out at some point here, and so look for that to happen. Now, on the pesticide side, farm chemicals weren't labeled as unsafe. So I think that that's maybe a small win, but there's still concerns out there that what the final recommendations will be. And so it leaves a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unease in farm country. And so while it could have been worse, it definitely could have been better as well. And so unease and uncertainty, I think, is the biggest thing as we move forward and wait on that the recommendations in 180 days.
Yeah. On the farm chemicals, for some reason, 2026 sticks out to me. Is there to be a renegotiation or something in 2026 that I'm thinking of? What am I thinking of there, Brian?
Yeah, I think as we move forward, there will be some jostling and stuff like that. So a lot of this is just, that this is an executive order from President Trump. The group came out with the initial report, and we'll move forward and we'll see the recommendations and those types of things.
Yeah. Maybe I'm preaching a little bit. I kind of feel like it's a little bit up to the individual to decide their own nutrition, because in the grocery stores that I go to, they've got aisles with fruits and vegetables and healthy foods, and then they have other aisles with foods that aren't, that don't have the same nutritional qualities. Can I be that gentle? They got the consumer has the choice, don't they?
Absolutely. A large part of this is tied back to SNAP or food stamps, and in terms of what you will be able to purchase and may not be able to purchase along those lines. And we've already seen several states ask for waivers from sugary drinks and those types of things from SNAP. And so Nebraska, Iowa, Indiana were the first three out of the gate, but the Trump administration is actively seeking states that want to eliminate those from SNAP benefits. And so I think that's a critical one. And SNAP just doesn't stop there on the dietary guidelines and that type of stuff. It's also being debated pretty widely in new farm legislation and what will happen there. With the new farm bill. And so a key and very divisive front, so to speak, in terms of what's going to happen with those government dollars that go for food aid.
Well, and we did have another report out just real quickly. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this because I think we both know where it's headed. But the one big, beautiful bill that President Trump had talked about came out. It made its way through the House. The general thought is the House isn't going to recognize it when the Senate gets done with it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. So the House version, they wrangled over it and finally got it passed just ahead of Memorial Day. And it's going to go to the Senate. The Senate's going to make some pretty major changes, it sounds like. And so then it has to go back to the House and they have to come to an agreement somewhere in the middle, probably. And so this is going to take some more time. And the clock is ticking, and so we will see where it all ends up. But the wrangling in Washington and Congress isn't done here, because the House, it took them a while, like I said, to get this one through, the reconciliation package through, and the Senate is going to make some, sounds like, pretty major changes.
Yeah. You'll keep the subscribers updated in the Pro Farmer newsletter and on profarmer.com, won't you, buddy boy?
Absolutely.
I knew we could count on you. That's Pro Farmer editor Brian Grady. Thanks to Zach Zingula for production support. Thanks to Lane Acree for being here with us as well. I'm Davis Michelson for the Pro Farmer Podcast.
Thanks for joining us. We'll return next week with another episode of the Pro Farmer Podcast. And remember, everything talked about today is updated throughout the week on profarmer.com and in this Friday's Pro Farmer newsletter.